How's it going, everyone? I'm Magically Average. That is Frankfurter. This is BakaBites. And today we are taking you back to school, giving you a lesson, and probably giving you detention as well because you're a bad student. We're going to Anime 101. That's right. Back to basics. Going back to the very beginning of what is anime and learning about anime and trying to figure out, what all this weeb shit is about. There's been a massive growth in anime, especially domestically in the US over the last, 5 years, really?
Yeah.
So much so that I have some statistics to share. Wild that I actually did research on this. Yeah. Statistics. Yes.
As you can tell,
Statistics.
I'm not hosting today because my last brain cell left my body when I took a shower this evening after mowing the lawn. So, good old Magically Average stepped up and is hosting today.
Yeah.
I will be putting in my 2 cents where my 2 cents need to be, but we are taking you back to school with statistics and statistics and all the other icks.
All the other istics. So
Some icks and some oohs.
So we'll go over just some quick stats because I found it interesting reading about the anime industry in general. So demand for anime grew about 118% between 2020 and 2022, primarily due to COVID, which is not surprising. The global anime market was estimated to be approximately $31.23 billion in 2023. And not kidding, they have future growth markets for this is projected to grow at an annual rate of 9.8% through 2030, which is wild.
Yeah.
And that's worldwide. So not just the United States. So the United States has probably seen a significant increase, I think, compared to most other countries, but that's also given for the fact that we have a large population in general. Japan obviously still it consumes, which is the only correct word to use in this situation when you're talking about economics and statistics and stuff like that. Japan still consumes the most amount of anime, but the US has seen, I think, the largest growth in countries over the last 4 to 5 years. Other fun things, anime is the third most in-demand subgenre worldwide and actually has a 5.5% demand share across media. I'm assuming the other two are probably reality TV and sitcoms. So what you find on
I would have
standard
just said TV in general,
Yeah.
and then movies.
Well, it's a subgenre of I would assume television, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The article didn't really go into what they defined as subgenre. Looking up anime economic trends in statistics is not the easiest thing to do. It's not like looking up the future growth market of corn, right? It's quite challenging to find actual stats on this stuff. So I had to look where I could. And then lastly, this is just an interesting one in general, partly due to the merger, but Crunchyroll has hit more than 13 million paid subscribers, which is an astronomical bump. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I saw a chart. The amount of paid subscribers on Crunchyroll was somewhere in the vicinity of 4.5 or 5 million. So and again, the Funimation Crunchyroll merger, which this is lesson numero uno on our podcast today. Do not get it confused, folks. Crunchyroll did not purchase Funimation. Funimation purchased Crunchyroll. More specifically, Sony purchased the rights to Crunchyroll from AT&T. Yes, Sony, the company that makes PlayStations and a bunch of other shit, owned Funimation. And AT&T, yes, the phone carrier and also owner of many other IPs as well, owned Crunchyroll. And so Sony purchased the rights from AT&T, but they kept the Crunchyroll platform. So just to address all the confusion, because I've seen a lot of people on TikTok, mostly people that are uneducated when it comes to this kind of stuff, gab about, how the Crunchyroll merger was a success for Crunchyroll and Crunchyroll this and Crunchyroll that. And people don't understand that it was reversed and it was a larger acquisition by the two parent companies, but whatever, regardless.
I think if you talk to anybody when that was happening, people weren't necessarily happy because monopolies, and those are awful, but also I think people were a little on the like happier side for the fact that the Funimation website app, whatever you want, like you were watching Funimation, was absolute hot garbage
Yeah.
compared to Crunchyroll, which is okay garbage. It's still
Yep.
garbage, but it's not like the worst
Well,
garbage on the block, you know?
the nice thing though is that we have seen steady improvements across all of the streaming platforms like that are anime specific, which really at this point are only two, which between Crunchyroll and High Dive. High Dive had a
Yeah.
huge overhaul recently, both mobile and on their television apps too. I actually just today watched anime while I was working out and was on the High Dive app, and it was like like night and day difference from their previous like UI to the current one. It's fantastic. So the fact that they're just making small upgrades too is nice to see, because sometimes you just see like the static, never
Yeah.
changes, same old problems here and there type
Yeah,
shit for
which High
years and
Dive
years.
had for about 2 years, and
Yeah,
then they finally
yeah.
decided, okay, we hear your pleas, we'll update it.
The one final thing I wanted to mention on this one is that I don't mind the fact that Sony purchased the rights from AT&T for Crunchyroll, and that Crunchyroll basically consumed the Funimation library, for the kind of basic point of it was hard to determine which site owned which streaming rights for anime. I'm kind of hoping moving forward they do try to create a system kind of similar to how High Dive is, where like they're owned by Sentai, and Sentai has like specific streaming rights for specific IP that they have. It's not all over the place between like Shonen and Seven Seas and Kodansha and all this other crap. It's a very hard to track, because it's like some things were on Crunchyroll, even though they were a part of like the same like licensing rights
Right.
to others that were on Funimation. So I wasn't upset from that standpoint, but I do hope that this kind of shifts who's going to be owning which rights, and where like you can kind of have a better expectation of where things are going to be streaming to. Because right now it's just sporadic. Like we don't know. We only knew what was coming out on Crunchyroll for this upcoming season like last week, and
Yep.
we're like 2.5 weeks away.
And I think High Dive maybe also.
I
They
don't know
may
if they
have
put
put
the
out
whole
their.
list out. I don't
I
think
think they
so.
put it out over the weekend, or at least a majority of it, if I'm
Oh,
not
did they?
mistaken.
Oh,
I remember seeing something about a blog post on like Instagram or something, where High Dive is like, hey, here's our lineup, and it's just like, here's a link. Yeah,
yeah.
March 15th, check out High Dive's anime release schedule for the week. Nope, never mind. It's just for the week.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think
Fucking
I've seen
never mind.
anything.
Goodbye.
It-
Nope. It's just the weekly like upcoming releases. It's like we know.
yeah,
Unless
we
there's like
know
a
that.
major just like cancellation or a recap episode, which if there's a recap this episode this late in the season, something bad is happening.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it's still weird. Like it is still the Wild West. Back to your kind of point on like who owns what rights, because like we talked about, Sentai is basically High Dive or Sentai Filmworks,
Hmm.
but is it wrong to try to pick up a girl in a dungeon, which is a show that you and I both love, is a Sentai Filmworks property. Yet season 3 is still on Crunchyroll. And I think some of the season might be on Netflix. I don't know. They're
Yeah.
kind of all over the place. Like it's still semi the Wild West.
Yep.
They're getting better because before every season they're like, guess what's coming? Yay!
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
But like it's still just like for past shows for the past like decade, I'll just say it's still just the Wild West, because it's like things are everywhere. And then you have High Dive, which had exclusive rights to streaming shows, no longer have those exclusive rights, because you see Eminence in Shadow season 1 on Hulu. You see, I think Don Machi season 4 is on Hulu. Like random
Yeah.
shit's on Hulu, and like it
And
just
it,
doesn't make
and
sense.
then you have the complete outlier of them all, the true cowboy vigilante, whatever you want to call it, which is Netflix, which does not abide by any streaming schedule, releases whenever they want, and drops it normally all at once. They're
Which I
starting to get better.
appreciate.
I don't mind. I don't mind. I mean, they're starting to get better with that, at least. Like I think the only few that I can remember off the top of my head that they've followed the consistent week-to-week release schedule was Comey Can't Communicate,
Delicious in Dungeon, which is
Delicious in
going on
Dungeon
right now.
currently, and then Uncle from Another World. But Uncle from Another World hit some production issues with COVID outbreaks at the production studio, so that was kind of shifted entirely. But hopefully they'll get on board and do the weekly, because it is a little annoying to just have an anime just go and like just plop out all at once. You're like, geez, okay.
As a
But
consumer, I like it because I can just watch everything without having to wait week to week, especially if it's a really engrossing show. However, then you have an issue where you have like Pluto, which came out
yeah,
last year, dropped all at once, and
yeah,
nobody talked about it. In my
yep.
opinion, I don't remember anybody talking about it. And it's
No,
just kind of like it just flies straight under the radar unless it's a huge property like Scott Pilgrim,
yeah,
which people don't associate with anime because Scott Pilgrim is a Western property, but it was made by an anime studio, so it's anime.
is it Science Saru,
Science
right?
Seru, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's just one of those things that Netflix has got to figure it out, but at the same time, they are getting better IPs. They're doing better with the IPs that they're selecting.
yeah. And in recent seasons, they have been doing the weekly releases. So the hope is that if they start getting more of the new anime that are dropping, that will
Oh,
become more commonplace.
My Happy Marriage is another example of
Oh
weekly
yeah,
releases.
there you go.
So,
All
but
right, so
anyways,
lesson, we'll call that lesson 0, because that was just kind of intro talk. But lesson number 1 for Anime 101 classes in session. Lesson number 1 is the big 3 will forever and always consist of only these 3 anime, and they are Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. That's it.
yeah,
I know people get upset because Dragon Ball Z is not on there. I know people keep saying, "Oh, we have to update it." There's the new gen big 3. It's JJK, Attack on Titan, and Demon Slayer. We get it, all right? They're the most popular ones of the
I
last like
wouldn't.
7 years.
Yeah, and I even wouldn't put Attack on Titan on that list for the fact that there was just such a big gap in between seasons most of the time.
Well, I
Like
mean,
if
you could say the same for
like even if you
Bleach.
were, I know, but like even if you were updating like the big 3 for the new age big 3, I mean, I would say it would be Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, and My Hero. Those 3 shows are like the new big 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like that's just my opinion. I know that's probably a hot take because a lot of people fell off of My Hero Academia, but yeah, no. So like if you ever hear somebody reference the big 3, they're talking about One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, which all came out in the mid 2000s. The reason they're the big 3 is because not a lot of anime was airing in the mid 2000s. Like we're getting probably 60 new shows every season.
Just
Back then in
wild.
the mid to early 2000s, you were probably lucky to get 7.
Yeah, I also found a stat. I wish I would have marked it down, but it was like specific to like production of anime, which is why I didn't include it. But it was
Hmm.
something to the effect of like over the last 10 years, the production of anime. So like the amount of anime being produced in Japan had like some astronomical growth for over the last 10 years. And again, I think it's a combination of the medium's getting more popular elsewhere, right? It's obviously had a huge following now in the US, which was not the case when I started watching anime back when the big 3 were airing. Like, I do remember watching the first episode of One Piece. I remember listening to the guy, I can never remember his name, Tom from Toonami, right? It was Tom. I
Yeah.
remember Tom
Those
talking.
life lessons with Tom.
Yeah, he would talk and be like, there's a new show coming out. It's One Piece. If you like pirates and finding treasure, this is the one for you. Follow Luffy as he gets his game." Like that was like, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be sweet." I remember being a little kid going down to my basement late on Saturdays and watching Toonami for like all the new ones and
Which,
Bleach.
which, by the way, that's lesson 1.5. Toonami. If you don't have
Yeah,
Crunchyroll and you have cable, you can watch Toonami still to this day on Cartoon Network. I think it's like 7 or 8 p.m. on Fridays
yeah. Well, and
or Saturdays, one of the two.
that's another fun piece too to talk about because we have obviously our other member Jutendo, who is not in the United States. He didn't watch it on Toonami. He watched them on like another channel specific to where he's at, right? And we have a member in our Discord that's I believe in Europe, and like they watched it in a different medium. So like the way that anime was streamed internationally was true, like, just Western, like, just complete chaos. Everyone made their own rules. There was no sheriff in town. It was just do it however you can. And for the United States, for most of the United States, I should say, you got it through Toonami. Obviously, there was also like the kid anime, which was for me WB20, where I watched like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon.
Yes.
That like those were great too, right? Um,
Yep.
but then yeah, if I wanted to watch the more adult,
Was
serious anime,
oh,
it was
I'm about to
Toonami.
pull real quick. Just a side spurt because you brought up WB.
Do it.
Was Cubics WB? Do you remember Cubics? And that
Cubics.
fucking just nightmare fuel of a show.
I don't think so.
You gotta Google this while we talk just to see it because like this is like Code
Is
Lyoko type of 3D
okay? Because I
like
was gonna
type of
say
show.
the name my brain immediately went to is it? Are you talking about
It's
Code
like the guy
Lyoko?
made out of blocks and he like transforms into different things, I believe.
Cubics.
Cubics.
Are you sure you're not? Cubics is like a game, isn't it?
No, it was an anime. They probably made a game too, but
my
it was an anime.
I'm gonna look up this.
Cubix.
Oh, okay.
I'm
like
looking at it right
Cubics.
now.
Good God,
Jesus.
this looks horrendous.
It was some very early 2000s
I'll just
CG
put my
anime.
phone up to the camera. It's not gonna show up, but that looks horrible.
It is terrifying. It's just as bad as maybe Code Lyoko.
Okay,
Um,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Code Lyoko was like way over my head, even when I was watching it. I still watched it though, because I still liked it. Like I wanted to like it, but it was too like
You were the definition
It
of
was-
pretty colors going across the screen.
yeah, kinda. Um but back
But
to
yeah, no,
yeah.
back to lesson one, the big three. Like those were the biggest shows because they kept going season after season after season, and they were honestly the biggest show, like biggest anime names out there for the time. So people dubbed them the big three. While yes, DBZ was still going on, I don't think it. I forget when its original airtime was in the United States. I know it was like the late 90s to early 2000s.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was still airing or not during those times. But I mean DVC I mean especially now that it's in the zeitgeist of due to the creator passing away, which rest in peace. Um but DBZ was a huge part of a lot of people's childhoods including mine. But yeah, I don't remember it ever being a part of the big three.
No, I mean, it was always discussed. It was like a heated debate amongst like the early anime fans when the respective shows were coming out in the United States. And I don't really know if there was one true argument as to why DBZ was left out. I think it was primarily just due to the fact that if memory serves me, like Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece were the main three anime that started airing through Toonami, and it was like the first instance. Again, from my memory, I'm sure there was like people that are older than me that are longtime anime fans as well would probably argue and say that's not my experience. You're missing out or whatever, and probably so. But like for when those three were coming out, they were like the only anime that people cared about because they were the new age of anime at that time. Because yeah, we had the original Dragon Ball and we had Dragon Ball Z when it started coming out. You had older anime too that started airing around the same time. Like obviously watched Cowboy Bebop through Toonami as well. Shows like Samurai Champloo, Fooly Cooly, off the top of my head. Try to remember some other ones. I think like there's Boba that always stands out, which is hilarious.
Good old Bobo. Zatch Bell.
Zatch Bell, yeah. Like there were good anime coming out at the time, but the premier always in focus anime were Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto. And that was kind of like the start to the shonen push, at least domestically. Like you didn't see a lot of like even at bookstores, like the very slim manga section that Barnes & Noble used to have that I would be one of the few people in as a small child with my mom going shopping was just manga for Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece primarily. Like there really wasn't much else being like actually licensed and produced for English at the time. Again,
Yeah.
memory serves me, right? I'm sure
We're
people will come in and just be like, "Oh, this was coming out at that time, and this was the biggest thing known to man."
we're also getting like a little into the not necessarily weeds, but we're in the weeds right now. And back to our lesson though, like if you hear the big three, that's what the big three is.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, lesson number 2, and again, we'll
Yeet.
bring back Dragon Ball Z again. Goku can not beat many anime outside of Dragon Ball Z. We're gonna end this discussion once and for all. Goku cannot beat insert every anime known to man, like most of them. Okay, Goku can't beat Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon basically wipes the floor with any anime MC known to man. Sailor Moon wipes the floor with them. Sailor Moon can destroy galaxies.
Good old 14-year-old sailor girl just can freaking wipe out the world
Yeah,
in a
effectively.
blink of an eye.
So let's just end that there because I know it's a meme. I know people
Can
like
he beat cancer?
yeah, exactly. Hey, it's me, Goku. Showing up when you're like getting out of the hospital. We're settling it right now. Okay, Goku cannot
Beat
defeat.
a 14-year-old girl.
Basically, yes. All right, moving on. Quick lesson. Lesson number 3. There's like 4 main categories of anime. And people normally put everything under one, which is shonen. So
Yes.
to kind of go through them, you have, I think normally we group 2 of them into one because it's a little bit harder. But there's shonen, which shonen is marketed for young boys, basically. So like between the ages of, I think the age group's
8
like,
and 16?
yeah, like 8 and 16, 8 and 15, like somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So shonen is what everyone knows. The shonen category encompasses like Demon Slayer. I mean,
It's what everybody fights about
yeah,
online.
and people get confused too because they're like, if it's under Shonen Jump, it's shonen. And it's like, yeah, basically, but there are shonen licenses that are a little bit more mature that someone could categorize as seinen, which is our other category, but whatever, to each their own. But like,
Right.
yeah, basically JJK, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, like Spy Family, all those are like Shonen Jump stuff. And so they're shonen. So for young boys. Seinen is your young adults, we'll say. So like between the ages of like 13 and 18-ish, 13 and 20. Basically very much more mature licenses, things like Berserk.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. I think Claymore is technically on there. You've
Yeah,
got
that would make sense.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like more adult themed stuff that is a little bit more graphic, has more mature content, not just like the age level maturity, but just like thinking, brain, intelligence level maturity.
Yeah, and these would be like if you're like, oh, but Shonen Jump, all Shonen, and this is where it comes into the category of, I believe, Shonen Plus or Jump Plus. That's like the equivalent to Seinen as well,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. So it was
I think you're right.
Jump Plus, I believe, is their kind of Seinen magazine, and I don't know if
Yeah.
it's bi-weekly or monthly, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people get, sorry, my cat's diving into garbage. I know well, he's poor little guy's wearing a cone, so like everything's an adventure for him now. So he's just like, what can I fuck up in this
what will
house
come
with
out
my
of my
cone?
peripheral next?
Yeah. The other thing people get confused about, and I think this ties into the whole like shonen, seinen, what is it categorized thing too, is that manga get released through different publications in Japan at different intervals of time. Some are weekly, some are bi-weekly, some are monthly. And then the names of the magazines are different too. There's like Weekly Shonen, there's Shonen Jump, there's Jump Plus. I mean, I have a couple I could just bring out actually. Here, hang on. You talk for a second.
Hello, it's me talking for a second.
So like here,
Yeah.
I got the JoJo's one. This is Ultra Jump for JoJo Lands. So this is, there's a different. That's one. I think this one's monthly. The Ultra Jump is monthly. What else do I?
That sounds about right.
Oop, something just fell over there. What is this? This is Weekly Jump that I have. Oh, good old Tekamuna Cinema. I think that's what it's called.
Okay,
Tekamuna Cinema?
I found the breakdown for you if you want me to go through it.
Oh God, I don't know what this one
So
is.
you-
Sure, go ahead.
So you have weekly shonen. So these are all under the shonen umbrella.
Yes.
You have Weekly Shonen Jump, V Jump, Jump Square, Saikyo Jump, Shonen Jump Plus, Shonen Jump Giga, which I know it's still going. Shonen Jump again, but that was I think a different company. I don't know. It was back in between in the 60s, and
Okay.
then monthly Shonen Jump. And then you have Seinen, which is Weekly Young Jump, Ultra Jump, Miracle Jump. God,
Miracle
there's so
Jump.
many. Grand Jump, Tonari no Young Jump, Business Jump, Super Jump, and Manga Almond.
Everyone's just jumping everywhere. Yeah, so the ones I have are look like all different weeklies, but they're weeklies that come out at different times. So this is like Weekly Jump. This is specifically Weekly Shonen Sunday, and this is Weekly Jump. But I don't think it's Weekly Jump because it says it comes out the same day as another one. I don't know.
I can't help you there.
Yeah, but so that's to clear up some confusion between the genres on the shonen and seinen side, plus their releases. And then your other two, which again we've debated. We think it's primarily just one category based on the type of shows they always put into these different genre groupings. But you have, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I don't have the material in front of me. It is shoujo, I want to say.
Yep,
For
you've got shoujo, which is young girls.
Yeah, young girls, young ladies.
So it's like the shonen, but for the female population.
And then the other one I always forget, which is
For young women is Josie.
Jose. Yes, that's right, Jose. The odd thing though is that
Josie and the Pussycats.
it's okay.
But that would be shoujo anyways. Anywho.
Yeah. The odd thing though is that anytime you look at lists for these to be like, here are the main four categories of anime, and you look to the list of like the shoujo and the jose, they're like, some of these shows are very interchangeable, and I don't agree with this list whatsoever because a lot of them are because of the way that they categorize it, and it's focused primarily on women and young girls and ladies. It's like dramas, romantic comedy stuff, love interest stuff on, boys love or girls love, a lot of that. Sometimes the categories are like, that doesn't seem like it should be marketed at a girl who's 10. That's primarily for older women, but they're like, whatever.
Prime example of that, Nana. Nana is a story that has some nudity in it, and it's a shoujo demographic.
Which, yeah, we don't know.
Sense.
We don't know. I will say though too, we've talked about it on a couple of other different episodes, but the way that we categorize or label media here in the U.S. Based on like for everyone or PG-13 or R or whatever, same with video games, is primarily based on like gore and language and things like that, and nudity. Elsewhere, you don't see a lot of nudity, or excuse me, you don't see a lot of gore and war for obvious reasons. But nudity is kind of not as bad internationally versus here. So that kind of plays a factor in it too. But regardless, though, those two categories we kind of push into one. We normally just call it shoujo.
Yep.
Because it's kind of intermingling. It's very fluid when it comes to the shows that they categorize and those, the dip between the two.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah,
which makes no sense. It still doesn't. Nana just doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, shonen stuff doesn't make sense either because I don't think an 8 or 9-year-old kid, Japanese or otherwise, should be reading JJ shit. I don't think an 13, 14-year-old kid could read JJK. I can't even read fucking JJK. I know you're not. No, I know you're not.
I know it's confusing. I know after the season ended, everybody was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" I'm like,
No,
Sure.
reading it. So the side tangent. I playing Magic. The Magic thing to say is, did you read the card? Reading the card explains the card. And that was kind of my mentality with JJK, because watching the last season, I'm like, all right, there's a couple of things I don't understand about domain expansions and limited domain and like all this and that when it comes to like their abilities and shit like that. So I'm going to get ahead because I was too hyped at the end of the second season. I'm like, I'm just going to read it. From this point on, I'm just going to read it and get caught up with what's out, because I also won't want anything to get spoiled for me anymore.
Yeah.
There was one point in talking about domains where I don't think there could have been more text in a single page of like six panels as there were. I read the words domain expansion in just one page probably 6 or 7 times, and my brain erupted. It made less sense than just watching it, and I don't know how people can understand it when they read it. It was a complete divergent of, did you read the manga? Reading the manga explains the anime. That did not happen. There was a disconnect. Yeah. There's one character that will be coming up in the next season of JJK, which probably won't happen for another 2 years, whose innate ability is fucking insane, and I don't know how they're gonna describe it and make it make sense, because people are gonna be like, "Oh, stroke it out."
So at this point, it's like a JoJo episode, but not.
Well, JoJo
not,
at least,
not as funny.
yeah, JoJo, they're like my stand can zip through time. You're like, cool, it's weird, but at least it makes sense. This person's like, I use signs. I use the star's position, and based on the star's position, I can triangulate to a point where you cannot and touch nor be touched. From there, you then repel. My brain, I was like, brain is melting. I can feel it oozing into.
That is my no square.
Yeah, I was like, my brain is melting out of my ears. Please make it stop. So, all right. Those are the genres. Moving on. Lesson number 4.
Those are your genres or categories, I guess. Because genres, you still have like comedy, slice.
Yeah,
of
sorry.
et cetera.
Yeah, the over encompassing categories of anime and manga. That's more accurate. So, all right. Lesson. What are we on? 4. Is everyone paying attention still? You guys taking notes? There's a test. There's a test tomorrow on this.
The only notes I have are property tax and HOA on this envelope.
It's really sad because I also have notes nearby that say that as well. Oh,
yeah,
God.
I gotta do my taxes.
I'm
Anyways,
an adult. Lesson 4: do your taxes, folks.
Yeah, that's 3.5.
Yeah.
Now we're on lesson 4.
Lesson 4. We should establish the difference between things that come out that are considered adapted and things that come out that are considered original.
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, because I think people assume that, and it's a fine assumption just because of the majority of anime that does come out is adapted, that everything comes from a manga. And that's far from the case. That's far from the case. There are situations where, I should say in most cases, there is some source material that goes along with an anime, whether that be a manga or a light novel, or a webtoon, if it's like a manhwa, or if it's a Korean based.
Which, honestly, real quick, I think more stuff, and especially looking at next season, more stuff is actually based on light novels, because usually a light novel comes before the manga, let alone the anime.
Yeah.
Like looking at
Tensei's
next
one,
season, the first 10 shows, only 1, 2, 3 of them are based off a manga. The other 7 are light novels, which that does include Konosuba and That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
Can I be real?
Those 2 are based off of light novels. Those came before the manga.
Yeah. I have a prediction. Since we already established that there's a crap ton of anime that comes out every year, I think they're running out of manga, and the manga can't keep up. No, I know. It's impossible.
Not the case.
The amount of manga that I read on Manga Dex alone, and I know how vast their library is not the case. But is it all good manga? No.
And they would rather go back and redo a show or
Yeah.
redo a manga that they did, like kind of like a Full Metal Alchemist treatment to
Yeah.
property,
No,
then
that's what.
put like more original out there.
That was one of my examples. All
Oh, you poor baby.
right.
Oh
So
no.
yes, as we've just noted, not every anime has associated source material with it. Some of it is original. Prime examples from recent memory that most people will know would be Buddy Daddies and Licorice Recoil. Um,
And
confusing
Odd
to
Taxi.
some, and Odd Taxi. Confusing to some because Licorice Recoil now has a light novel and a manga adaptation, and I think it's also getting a spin-off light novel as well. So people
And the second season?
and a second season at some point. So
One
people
day.
people might forget that the anime actually came out first. So that is one weird situation. But yes, there are plenty of anime out there that are originals. There's also situations, and this is something that we saw more in the past. I would say it's less an issue now. Because of the way that anime is produced, before it was kind of all done in one go. Now it's done week to week. But you do have situations like Frank Furter alluded to with Full Metal Alchemist, in which case the anime and manga are kind of going, manga starts, anime begins, manga's a little bit slower, anime keeps going. They finally reach, and it's like, all right, what are you going to do, manga? You going to keep up? And they're like, nope. The anime goes, okay, and fucks off and does its own thing. And that's why you have Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And if you're
It's
not
also
aware,
why we're getting a new season of Spice and Wolf.
yes, that as well. Okay, there you go. Current example. So new season of
Current
Spice and Wolf
example, coming out next season.
yeah, which is it's not a complete retelling. It is actually going to be somewhat new because of that simple fact that there was a point at which the anime kind of spun off and the manga finally concluded after the fact.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
the only downside is that the Spice and Wolf started as a light novel. Light novel still going.
oh well,
Manga has ended
never
at
mind.
16 volumes, but the light novel's still going at 24.
Good gravy. Didn't
Jesus.
know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, lesson 4.1 ish to go along with this. If you're not aware, there is a difference between Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The first like 7 to 8 episodes are kind of the same ish, and then there's like an immediate just split off in different directions. It's very noticeable if you watch them side by side. Actually, the manga, if you read it through all the way, like I had, is 1-to-1 with Brotherhood. So if you're looking for that 1-to-1, watch Brotherhood. If you want to experience a pseudo original, I guess you could consider that to be Full Metal Alchemist, the original, because it doesn't technically follow source material all the way through. But yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind, because I know some people, you hear a lot of people complain like, oh, the adaptation was garbage. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. Oh, it was bad for this. And your sound didn't come through, but I'll just remake it. It was there you go. So yeah, and people get confused because they're like, well, doesn't everything come from the manga? And it's like, no, not always. Not even a manga. Like we said, it's sometimes light novels and sometimes it's completely original.
Usually light novels.
Yeah. And actually,
Almost.
I'm a dummy too. I forgot a very current one that's coming out right now would be Metallic Rouge. That is an entirely original anime done by Studio Bones.
It had so much potential.
It's still good. It's not the greatest,
good,
but it's still
it did
good.
not live up to the potential we thought it had, unfortunately. But
I know.
it's still the first few episodes are still worth a watch.
I know.
But yeah, no, that's a good example, and I feel like we went through last week the anime coming out next season, and I believe there are a fair amount of originals coming out. They were more towards the bottom of the list, but they're still coming out every season. Like the prime example, there is one that we're both looking forward to on High Dive. Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night.
Yeah,
It's another example of an original, but like because sometimes these original shows get like such a high production budget, so like they look a lot prettier, they get like a good voice casting, they get a lot of marketing. People think, oh, it's just based off of something that I've never read, or that it's just based off of something, and it's completely untrue. It's just an original because they throw budget at it usually.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the cone kitty.
Yeah,
For the video viewers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the other thing too, adding on, we'll make this 4.2. That I feel like we should highlight as well is a lot of people get confused when anime is being produced. They like to focus like very closely on the studio producing it. They're like, oh, Mappa's got this, shit's gonna be insane, or oh, Ufotable, it's gonna be the greatest anime ever. And we always have to remind ourselves too when we're recording and doing these reviews as well. But a very, very, very loud reminder to all of you anime fans, both new and old: the studio has no bearing on how good the actual anime is. Let me repeat: the studio has no bearing on how good the anime is actually going to be.
Slight correction: the story of the show.
Yes. Well, I say that just kind of looking at the anime holistically. Like, the studio is going to make it look as pretty as possible, right? The studio is going to, again, if it's an adaptation, it's going to try to make it look one to one with how the creator envisioned the characters and the world to be, through animation now. And the studio will try to hit all the marks it can to give it the life it wanted to have on film. That does not translate to how good the story is, how good the world building is, the character designs, the character growth, like everything else that goes into the actual anime. So just because you see on a little placard like, oh, Cloverworks has this one, and it's gonna be amazing. Prime example: The Promised Neverland season 2. That
It
shit
didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, yeah, we
It didn't happen. Prime example: Wonder Egg priority.
Is this the
first great 10 episodes, and then episode 11, you're like, what's going on? And then episode 12 is just like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, we're I like how we're turning The Promised Neverland season 2 into like the Berenstein Bears situation.
It didn't happen.
Like the Mandela effect. Like, it didn't never happen.
I'm still waiting on season 2. Give me Goldie Farms.
God. I don't want you to wait.
Who don't know, season 2 of The Promised Neverland, season 1 is a 10 out of 10 season.
Yes.
100%. It is incredible.
Yep.
Season 2 is a piece of garbage that was puked on and then shat on, and then what's the jumble of rats where they get all tangled up?
No, it's a rat king, right?
It's a rat king or whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh,
that comes up, eats it, then poops it out, and then just
stop.
Like,
please stop. You're actually
it is honestly awful. It is one of the worst pieces of television I have ever seen.
Yeah,
and that says a lot because I have seen a lot of awful anime.
Yep. Yeah.
So Promised Neverland season 2 never happened. That's 4.3. It never happened.
It never happened. So,
but yeah, no, like back to your point, like, oh, the studio, they just because, prime example, Mappa. Mappa is a great studio. Everybody loves Mappa. Mappa had a fucking awful original anime come out a few years back called Remain. It was a water polo anime. I played water polo. I was looking forward to it. There's approximately across the 12 episodes. Of the 12 episodes, there's probably a solid 20 minutes of water polo throughout the entirety of the thing. It is awful.
I loved it. I thought it was great. For the simple fact that there's literally no water polo in the goddamn anime. It's the best.
And they have another sports anime, which is based off a manga, so there's a better promise that the story will be better there. Yeah. But they have another... it is based off another... Yeah, it's based off of baseball, but it's also eerily similar to Remain, in which one of the main protagonists gets amnesia or in an accident and they lose all their memory.
The sports anime and amnesia, it's a wild thing. Yeah, sorry, and I'm looking through livechart.me right now at some of the new anime coming out and looking at the studios to try to determine, like, here's one that we previewed last week. It's called Windbreaker. It has like a very odd similarity to like Tokyo Revengers style stuff, but except they're trying to be the best, the most good bad guys possible.
Yeah, they look like Blue Lock characters that are actually playing on a team rather than for themselves.
Yeah, and it's done by Cloverworks, which is a fantastic studio. It doesn't mean that the anime is going to actually be good. Again, it might look really pretty, the animation might look good, the fight scenes might look impeccable, but the anime itself could be pretty dog shit. So just keep that in mind. Your lesson 4.2: studios don't make the anime story better. They just make it look pretty.
Yes.
Lesson number 5. Well, I guess we should break for lunch. I think everyone's probably a little tired from all these lessons back to back. So quick lunch break and recess. Let the teachers do their smoke break. No, that was really about it. I don't really have like a lot of like lessons. All of the rest of my stuff are very like nitpicky, focused on specific things. Like fact number 1: don't judge people if they want to buy manga in physical, because yes, we all know Shonen Jump is $1.99 a month, but I like holding it in my hand. Sue me.
I also can't read The Witches of Adamas in Shonen Jump. So
Is that the one where he?
Yes.
God. Okay, we're gonna leave that mystery right there. I'm not even gonna explain anything more because I know it and he knows it, but you probably don't.
It's over 18. If you're over 18, you can look into it.
Don't look it up. It is not great.
It's hot garbage, is what it is. But yeah, no, I would agree with that, because like you and I, as we previously stated in an episode, and I really think we should just make accounts for it so nobody else gets it, but we are the old men of manga. We are just fucking old men who go into Barnes & Noble and we act like children and we are like, yay, manga!
That's going to be our... When this podcast, maybe one day gets picked up and it explodes and we become the next greatest thing next to the Joe Rogan Experience and the what's the one with Markiplier and Bob and Wade? What's that?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I listened to one episode of that and there were too many sound effects for my liking.
I liked it. If we ever get to that point, maybe we'll do a spin-off series and just be the old men of manga. But yeah, I also like it for, I guess, for lack of a better way of describing it, like the collectability of it too. Like I like just owning it. I feel like in Japan, I will say, having gone there and like bought manga there, they do a lot of like cool promotional things for it too, like small little exclusive trinket items that you get when you go in and purchase the latest volume that releases. Yeah, like that's cool. Like I like that piece. We don't do that here because we're boring and we don't appreciate manga as much. The only
times it happens is if you buy a box set. You'll get like a poster exclusive to the box set.
Yeah, I think I did. That happened when I bought the Fullmetal Alchemist box set.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of with that. But I would agree. Just don't judge people. Like if they like what they like, they like what they like. If they're not hurting anybody, who freaking cares?
And
why do you care?
And that segues right into my other nitpicky little point I want to bring up. Oh my God, I'm dying. Everyone is entitled to their opinions, but that doesn't mean you can shit on them. That means that if someone doesn't like your favorite anime, you don't have to harass them. And if they like an anime that you don't have to yell at them for it. It is
Unless
okay.
It's Promised Neverland Season 2.
But it never happens, so you can't even judge someone for not watching it. This is something, and it comes with the territory of something.
Terry? It comes with Terry.
It comes with Terry. Yeah.
Who's Terry? You cheating on me?
Always.
Sorry.
Constant.
It comes with the territory
of anything that's becoming popular and has a growing base, that you're inevitably going to get people that are louder than you or are more opinionated than you, and it just becomes sort of like this madness of people trying to spew their thoughts and feelings on something and make it become the, like, not just through opinion, but like fact. Like it's not subjective, it's objective, that their anime is the best. Here's why, here's how, no case to it, case closed, you're finished, locked in jail, go away, life term. Like they want to always have be the loudest person in the room and establish that. And it is what it is. Again, it comes with things growing in popularity and more people joining in and sharing their voice as well. But the thing to remember at the end of the day is that there is a vast library of anime. Massive.
Correct.
I don't think there is a human on this planet that has watched every single anime that's come out. And if you have out there, kudos to you. I hope this gets to you because we'd love to have you on the podcast. I feel
But
like
please touch a little bit of grass for us.
I
I know it's on your
yeah.
desk.
First,
Just for me, please.
yeah, first do that. But it's
Which is
okay. It's okay if someone says they don't like your anime or they think your anime is a 3 out of 10. Like it's fine. Here, I'm gonna become vulnerable. I think Attack on Titan is pretty mid. I think the first season and the third season are wonderful, but the second and the fourth are absolute dog shit, which by math makes it about a 5. Split it right down the middle. It's not great. It's not good. It's just kind of meh. All right,
So,
there you go.
real quick, what was the moral of this lesson again?
The moral of the lesson is just don't judge people for shitting on your favorite, and you shouldn't shit on theirs if it's something that that you don't like.
Right, like I still think Akabi Sailor Uniform is a 7 out of 10.
This is very targeted because I made a comment to him when I saw his list and he gave it a 7 out of 10. And he was uncalled
upsetty
for.
spaghetti a little bit with me.
It was uncalled for to bring it up just now. I had just gotten over it. I completely forgot about it, and now I'm getting it. Now I'm upset again.
I'm in a
because
safe space. I can talk about it.
I think it's great. You give it a 7.
It's a good show. I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as you did. That's all.
It's becoming a problem too, where like and it's something I'm hopeful this will never happen, because growing up again, I was in the very, very, very small group of people that liked anime. Like even within my friends, like I didn't have a lot of friends that like watched anime like I did, like caught some of the new episodes coming out on Toonami or went out and bought some manga to read. You know, when I went out and bought manga, I never brought it to school ever. I would maybe once in a while, if I was really wanting to read something, bring it and only read it on the bus where I knew I had like a safe little corner tucked in the back because I was the first person on and the first person off at my stop, and I could read it in silence and have no one bother me. But I would never think about bringing it out like in class or like at recess or anything like that, because I knew there was a stigma behind it. It was weird. Like you were
and
kind
there's still
of
a stigma a little bit about it.
Yeah, no, there certainly is. But I mean, thankfully, that piece is starting to dwindle because more and more people, it's becoming a bit more mainstream. You're seeing more and more people, like even celebrities and stuff, are like giving shout outs to anime. You had big ones last year, like if you're into sports, Jamal Williams, who was a running back for the Packers, the Lions, and the Saints at all points in his career. Huge anime fan. Like, will tell fans, if you see me at camp or practice, bring me anime stuff. I will sign it. Like, people were bringing him like Pokemon plushies and things like that, and like manga of Naruto and stuff, and he was signing it. Like, that's cool. Megan Thee Stallion, like big artist, was presenting at the Crunchyroll Awards this year, and she is not just like a pretend fan. She is a real fan. Like, she cosplays and does photo shoots as different anime like MCs. Like, it's really cool to see. But again, with it becoming mainstream, it's becoming a larger place where people can become more toxic about it, and that's something that I want to push away.
And that is the last lesson, and that is don't gatekeep. Just because
Yes.
they watch Dragon Ball Z only, or they just watch One Piece, or they just watch Naruto, don't gatekeep. They still watch anime. It's fine. You can just not engage with them.
Yep.
Like that is the easiest thing, is just ignore them. If they keep coming after you, you're just living rent free in their head. That's all there is to it. But don't gatekeep and be like, you're not a real anime fan. You only watch one show.
I watched a TikTok recently that gave me an immediate ick, which was like someone like I know it was a joke, but I do believe that people have developed this mentality of late, which is like the caption basically said like anime fans reacting to those who just became a fan after COVID. And it's like, you don't know the trials and tribulations I went through. Like, you don't know the shit I had to do to be a real anime fan, this and that. And I'm like, that's all fine and dandy. Like, you can have that opinion if you really want, but let's tie it to another big following, which is sports, right? I have been a lifelong Red Wings fan. Okay, in my early life, the Red Wings were like the top team in the world, not just in hockey, like in general, for the amount of championships they were winning. Now they're in a big lull. If someone became a fan like now, and let's say they start making playoffs and they start winning again, I'm not gonna like go out and gatekeep them and be like, you're not a real Red Wings fan if you don't go through the 7-year playoff drought that I had to live through. Like, that mentality is completely abrasive to like developing a community that actually truly enjoys this. And so if you're an anime fan, regardless of how long you've been an anime fan, what anime you like, you should love and support every single anime fan around you, because that's what this community is about. We've been preaching it for time and time again, that you should just support everyone. So you can respect them. You don't have to have the same opinion, but you just allow this to be an open space for people to enjoy what they love, which is anime.
Yep. Yeah. Just try your best not to gatekeep. If you do gatekeep and somebody points it out, just say, hey, you're right. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I retract that. Because I know in the past that, like, very early episodes, we had said a couple things that were very gatekeeping-ish. And it was pointed out to me. I was like, you know what? I'll do better. I will definitely do better, because, yeah, this is a thing that I love and I want other people to love. I think for me, I will know that like anime is like mainline, mainstream, like more people are getting into it, is when my mom will one day call me about it. Because about a decade ago or so, my mom called me while I was finishing up a day at work, and she was like, can't you make like a living off of video games? And I was like, Mom, maybe like 10 years ago if I got in at the ground floor, but not anymore.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm just like, don't be sorry. It's fine. You didn't know. But like my mom knowing now that video game is a big thing, that was just like, okay, it's in the main, you know,
Yeah.
It's going out to people like her now.
Yeah.
So once I finally randomly will get a call from my mother, I will know about it. I will know that it's finally hit the mainstream.
I absolutely love my mom, but she kills me whenever I talk about this stuff with her, because she's like, where are you going again? Are you going to Vegas for what's again? And I'm like, we're presenting at an anime convention. She just goes, okay. Like no other thoughts, no other responses. It's just it just kind of flatlines.
Yeah, like
so
my
I'm in the same boat.
My mom knows I podcast, and I'm just like, she doesn't know what about. Like, she knows that it's generally this, but I'd never talked to her about it. It only came up once because my little sister said something about it, and my mom knows just not to bring it up.
Yeah,
and so I'm just like, once I finally hear from her about any of this, I'll know that it's like safe to talk about, you know, in the outside.
Yeah, the only way that my mom will ever get to a point where she'll, like, I guess, kind of experience anime in any sort of fashion would be as if it comes through like sports, because she's a big sports fan in general. Like, there was like one shining glimmer of hope. I think the LA Rams last season had like a One Piece day where like they decked out the whole stadium in like One Piece. And I'm like, if any of our local sports teams were to do that, and like that would be the only opportunity where my mom would be like, hey, did you hear about this weird anime thing that they're doing? And they'd be like, oh my God, it's happening. But that's like the only situation where that would occur.
But yes.
Yeah, your final lesson: love and respect everyone. Don't gatekeep. Even though I know we told you that Cowboy Bebop, you have to watch Cowboy Bebop. I get it. Okay, we're sorry. You still should, but you're still an anime fan.
You can still girl boss. Just don't gatekeep.
Yeah, no gatekeep. What is it?
Gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss.
Bad.
So no gatekeeping, no gaslighting, but you can girl boss.
You can girl. Yeah, just don't do two of the three. Just do the one, the only one that truly matters. But
correct.
And what really matters is all of you listening and watching us time and time again. We can't thank you enough for always supporting us. If you want to follow us and see our faces more for some odd reason, please go check out our socials on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. You can also find them at our Linktree, which has access to our Discord, all the different sites where we stream the podcast on as well.
So if
You
you
as
find
I
us on one social, you can find that link, and you can be
everywhere.
brought to everywhere else.
You will be we will be around you everywhere and always. We are omnipotent and omniscient.
I
Probably
don't
not
know
the
about
last
that,
one.
but okay.
Probably not the last one. As I mentioned too, we are going to be at an upcoming anime convention. It is SumiCon in Las Vegas from April 3rd to the 5th. My
You say
gentleman,
we, but it is you.
I'm saying we as the Baka&Co podcast.
That's
I will
fair.
be there representing us alongside my wife. So if you're in Las Vegas and you want to see us, SumiCon, April 3rd to the 5th. We are also potentially doing another con later this year. We are still discussing and finalizing that. So keep an eye out for socials when we give that announcement that we're super excited about. But until next time, take care, everyone, and we'll see you then.
Bye.